Evil has no end. It never dies. Bodies perish, flesh decays, and over time they are forgotten, but the spirit of evil lingers. Waiting for the perfect host. Sometimes it takes years, other times centuries. But evil is always reborn, and the longer it waits, the more monstrous it becomes, twisting humans into demons. If you think about it, evil has existed since the dawn of time. But when good souls depart, we rarely find another like them. Some of the hosts for these wicked spirits are simple-minded, easily manipulated by darkness. Others are wild, uncontrollable, consumed by madness. And then there are those who are something far worse, cold, calculating, intelligent. They are the ones who wield their evil with purpose, fully aware of what they do. It reminds me of a story about a man named Edward Harris. A man who was not always known for evil, yet his fate became entwined with it. Edward Harris, he was a peaceful wanderer, always dressed in a distinctive blue cloak. He found joy in nature, spent his days studying, and dedicated himself to helping those in need. He traveled from town to town seeking adventure, collecting souvenirs from every place he visited. On one of these journeys, he purchased a blue cloak from an elderly merchant, not a frail, toothless old man, but one still strong and firm in his years. Behind him stood a middle-aged woman, watching in silence. Little did Edward know, this cloak would become a defining part of his identity. One chilly evening, Edward arrived at a secluded town called Greenville. He stepped off the last bus of the night, uncertain of what he would find in this unfamiliar place. He knew no one, had nowhere to stay, and no way to leave until morning. As he wandered in search of a motel, the moment he stepped into town, the atmosphere shifted. Gasps filled the air. Women grabbed their children and fled. Men stumbled over each other in their frantic attempts to escape. Others reached for their weapons and charged toward him. Edward froze, overwhelmed by the sudden chaos. Then came a chilling cry from the crowd. "Kill him! Kill him before he kills us!" His breath caught in his throat. He took a step back, raising his hands in surrender. "Wait, what's wrong? I have no intention of harming anyone." The men hesitated. Seeing his genuine fear, they slowly lowered their weapons. Exchanging uneasy glances, one of them stepped forward, clearing his throat. We thought you were someone else. It's because of that blue cloak." A nervous chuckle rippled through the group, though the tension lingered. The crowd dispersed, murmuring reassurances that there was no danger. One of the townsmen, perhaps feeling guilty, offered Edward food and shelter for the night. Seated at the table, Edward took a sip of his drink, still bewildered by the town's reaction. When we saw you arriving, we thought you were a demon. Demon? Do I look like one? It's not about your appearance, it's about your cloak, and the story behind it is a terrifying one. Go on. The man gestured toward the window. If you look beyond the town, you'll see a mountain. Long ago, many of our people lived up there, but now the place is abandoned. All that remains is a decaying, empty house. That was where he lived. The one we mistook you for, the man in the blue cloak. Edward's curiosity deepened. Who was he? A shadow passed over the man's face. His name was Jonathan, and once he was one of the kindest, most intelligent people in our town. We sought his wisdom, trusted his advice. People even traveled from neighboring villages just to speak with him. He was a man of great respect. But something changed, and the Jonathan we knew was lost forever. All of that happened one fateful spring. An outsider arrived in town, desperate and weary, seeking help to save his dying wife. Here in Greenville, we had no hospitals, no clinics, only a handful of elderly folk who practiced herbal medicine. They were summoned, but their remedies offered no cure. That's when we turned to Jonathan. Jonathan welcomed the couple into his home, promising to care for the ailing women himself. From that day forward, he hardly left her side, tending to her day and night. It was as if he had become consumed by her presence, obsessed with her suffering. The townspeople whispered among themselves, "Jonathan has fallen in love with this woman." At first, it was just an oddity, but soon it became unsettling. Jonathan no longer came down to town. He stopped visiting the markets, stopped speaking to friends. Weeks passed, and then rumors spread that the woman had been cured. The news reached beyond Greenville, drawing people from neighboring towns, each hoping Jonathan would heal their sick as well. But he refused. Day after day, hopeful visitors climbed the mountain only to be turned away. The townspeople began to wonder if she was truly healed. Why had we not seen her leave? Then, one morning, a messenger arrived with grim news. The woman had suddenly fallen ill again. Worse still, her husband had caught the same illness. Within days, both were dead. Grief weighed heavily on the town. But what disturbed us most was Jonathan's reaction. He wailed for days, his cries echoing down the mountainside like the howls of a dying beast. He locked himself inside his house, refusing to let anyone in, rejecting all offers of comfort. At the time, we mistook his sorrow for heartbreak. We didn't see the madness creeping into his soul. Who could have imagined what he was capable of? What happened? Were you saying he killed them? If that were the case, at least they would have found peace. Years passed in uneasy silence. Jonathan remained in his house, venturing down to town only once in a while to purchase supplies. Always alone, always a shadow of the man we once knew. Then, one by one, people began to see her. A woman inside his home. At first, the sightings were dismissed as paranoia, fueled by old superstitions. But the whispers grew louder. Had the house become haunted? Had Jonathan gone mad? Fear took root in Greenville. People abandoned their homes on the mountains, moving into town for safety. But even in the valley, the unease lingered, festering like a sickness. And then, people began to disappear. It started with a husband, then a daughter, then an uncle. There was no pattern, no connection between the missing. This had always been a peaceful town. No murders, no animal attacks. For the first time, we felt helpless, lost in uncertainty. Some suspected Jonathan, others believed the mountain itself had been cursed. But no one dared climb the slope to uncover the truth. Not until one of us escaped the demon's grasp. It was a young man from our town. One morning, he had gone up the mountainside searching for timber. As he passed Jonathan's house, a movement caught his eye. A woman. She sat inside, her face pale and downcast, her body unmoving. The young man's blood ran cold. He knew that face. He had seen her portrait before, heard her story. It was her, the same woman who had died years ago. He stood frozen, unable to reconcile what he was seeing. Was it truly her? Had the rumors been real all along? Then she turned. Their eyes met. In an instant, she was on her feet, rushing toward the window, her hands reaching out in desperation. Terror gripped him. He stumbled back, tripping over the bundle of wood he had gathered. Panic clawed at his throat as he scrambled to his feet, ready to flee. Something made him stop. A terrible, morbid curiosity forced him to take one last glance. When he did, she was gone. The young man ran for his life, stumbling down the mountainside until he reached the town, breathless and drenched in sweat. He told everyone what he had seen. His words sent a ripple of unease through Greenville. It wasn't the first time someone had claimed to see the woman. But most of us were skeptics. We didn't believe in ghosts. The next morning, the town awoke to another disturbance. The young man who had seen her had fallen gravely ill. His fever burned high and no remedy would bring it down. Some whispered that he had been cursed, possessed by the spirit of the woman. Others, more skeptical, insisted that something had to be done. Whatever haunted that house, be it a ghost or something far more human, we needed to uncover the truth, so we gathered our strongest men and sent them up the mountain. They stormed into Jonathan's house, prepared for anything. But inside, they found only silence. Jonathan was gone. What they did find was far more horrifying. Buried beneath the cold earth, beyond his house, lay the remains of the missing townspeople, women, men, all those who had vanished without a trace. Their partially decayed corpses were exhumed and brought back to town, where they were finally given the proper burials they had been denied. But there was no sign of Jonathan, no sign of the woman, no sign of the couple that had once sought his help. It was then that the truth settled over everyone like a shadow. Jonathan had become obsessed with the woman. The illness had never taken on her or her husband. Jonathan had. He had murdered the husband, kept the woman captive, and silenced anyone who had the misfortune of wandering too close to his secret. That was why people had seen her, why she had been glimpsed in that house long after she was thought dead. And yet, even after all these years, some still claim to see her, sitting in that empty house, a house where no light is ever lit, a house where no sound is ever heard. As for Jonathan, no one knows where he went, or if he's even still alive. Well, one thing's certain, strange things happen in this world. Some people are born human, but when they do evil, they become demons. The man across him nodded solemnly. No matter how many years pass, the town will always remain wary. We'll never forget the evil that lived among us. But it's been years. Surely he's long dead by now. The man looked at him in the eye, his voice grave. Lad, evil never dies. It only finds another body.
I've become so weak and fragile. When was the last time I tasted a human soul? We've been on the run for so many years. You must obey me. Pass this to a young soul so I may be reborn again. Yes, mistress. How much for this cloak?
If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends and family.